It's the start of secondary school. But for this Year 7, they haven't set foot in their classrooms. Instead, they're on their way to North Wales to spend their first week of school doing Outward Bound. XP Comprehensive in Doncaster is different. It's 11 times oversubscribed. It hasn't excluded a single student since 2015, and attendance is way above the national average, and so are its exam results.
To value a child as an individual rather than as a group of children.
You know, the unique way of how they actually teach the students, and I think what it seems to do is bring out the confidence in the students themselves, you know.
It's getting children to cooperate and get along with others rather than just basically doing things on their own, and also learning the old ways about values as well.
The students have been put into small groups of 12, half the size of an average secondary school form tutor group. They call this crew. One of the crew leaders, Joe Nixon, is also new to XP.
Right, come on guys.
Our born ready.
He'll stay with his crew for the next 5 years. The strength of the relationships within crew is everything. It's the glue that holds this school together. And it all begins with the physical challenges in Wales.
This, right here, is where your school began. And you've made the courageous decision to go to a school that's a bit different to some of the other schools in Doncaster. What if school wasn't just kids sitting in rows and being told stuff and expecting to remember it and pass tests? What if school was more like Outward Bound? What if it was really tough? What if they were expected to think, act, talk, be like adults? What if we started treating kids as if they were the owners of their own learning?
I woke up in the middle of the night because it was raining, and it was just like the worst sleep ever because you could just like feel, even though we're on a mat, like it was so hard and horrible. Crew's like, it's like a bonding. Some of us all popped our heads out and the whole sky was covered in stars, and it was really, really nice. And it was like nice to like hear the sea when you were falling to sleep.
There's a rigorous philosophy behind XP's approach. It originates with the founder of Outward Bound, the German educator Kurt Hahn. It's about pushing yourself to do things you didn't think were possible, about taking responsibility, not just for yourself, but for your crew.
Well, I was a bit upset because I felt a bit homesick, but now I feel a lot better. It were cold, very damp, and I thought it were terrible. We played with Lego and went to sleep, but I didn't really go to sleep at all because I woke up 3 times, ate a spider, and only got an hour of sleep. Well, 1 hour of sleep.
I woke up and my whole arm was soaking.
And I had a good night's sleep.
Raven,
Yeah.
you're not there yet, mate. You need to stand up and go and sit on the bench, please, buddy.
It was very, very exhausting. Very tough.
The week builds towards the toughest challenge of all, climbing a mountain in gale force conditions, then abseiling down it.
Come on, you can. That is breathtaking, literally. Too close. This is hard.
Well done, Lily.
I did it.
Keep going. Use your feet and hands.
Come on.
Come on.
Charlotte.
Charlotte. Fine, you'll get me broke. Guys, you've got to feed it together as a team.
I did it!
I'm absolutely frightened of heights.
And you've done that so well.
I feel proud that I did not get scared or just give up.
It was good because I experienced something new.
Crew helps by motivating you when you're climbing.
I didn't think I'd be able to do it, but I ended up getting to the top and feeling great.
Built into everything XP does is time for the students to reflect on their experience and what they've learnt from it.
In my previous school, I wasn't really accepted. I did have a few friends, but people weren't really nice to me, and it's just good to have friends who like me for who I am.
Thank you.
We need to replace this environment with school and the classroom. Because put your hand up if you found something really difficult at school. Put your hand up if you found something really difficult. Practically everybody, put your hands down. And at our school, the work that we do is academically very challenging. We have a common mission, everybody. And we call that a common mission, and we say it's getting to the top of the mountain. Some of you guys here today, you've abseiled, you've gone kayaking, you've walked through gorges, and you've gone through your own mountains. You've gone on beaches, you've gone in freezing cold water, you've jumped off jetties, you've left home for a sustained period of time, you found it really difficult. We've got through it through the concept of crew, this sense of togetherness and helping one another and actually achieving something what we previously thought we couldn't do.
Exhausted but exhilarated, Year 7 returned to Doncaster and to a school that's been judged by Ofsted as outstanding in all categories. What's this totally non-selective comprehensive in one of the most deprived towns in the UK got right? As students face pressures like never before, it's time to focus on what works for them and for their teachers.
I would say I've never worked so hard in my professional career, but actually I've never enjoyed my teaching so much. It's brilliant.
What we're concerned about is growing really great young people who are going to go out into the world and make a positive difference and are going to contribute to making the world a better place. That's at the front of everything we do here.
At XP we believe that schools should be a reflection of the society we want to live in, and I think in many ways the pandemic's brought that to the fore, and our statement is above all compassion, and we saw that in the pandemic where compassion was brought to the fore.
The story of XP begins with two secondary school teachers, both Doncaster born and bred. They wanted to provide the best possible education in a town that suffered generations of unemployment and industrial decay. So they decided to set up their own school on an industrial estate on the edge of Doncaster, funded by the British government's free school programme. After 3 years they were so successful, they built a second school next door. But it all began in America, where they went in search of ideas.
When we visited other schools that we were inspired by, the thing that struck me was not just that the kids were achieving academically, but that they were becoming better people. And I knew that if I went to that school, I'd be a better person and not just achieve academically as I did. That really hit me, and I really wanted to do that for the kids of Doncaster.
Staff decided on the school's name because they liked words like personal, excellent and expressive, with lots of X's and P's in them. The school model has 3 key features. It's small, with just 50 students in each year group. They learn in cross-curricular projects or expeditions based on real-world issues which take students out into their local community. And there's crew, which comes into its own in school.
You think of meditation a bit like exercise, but it's exercise for your mind.
It's so important, crew, to be able to challenge, to be able to have an open forum, to talk, to help, to support. And that's everything that kind of crew is and why it's so important for XP.
Students spend 45 minutes every morning in their crew. That's up to 4 hours a week, compared with less than an hour in most secondary schools. Today, Joe's class are looking back on when they first came together in Wales.
We had courage.
Who had courage?
All of us.
All of you. And where did you get that courage from, William?
Crew.
I think the one that will always stand out to me is Reuben's.
On our own we can only lift a feather, but as a crew we can lift the world and more because together we are stronger.
It does, you know, send shivers down my spine, because I think it is amazing. Because it does put a smile on my face. You know, we've got through this week and it's been much easier. This has been your first week of secondary school. I feel like it's probably actually been dead easy for most of you because you've had crew.
Crew acts as the cornerstone of the work that we do. This helps the adults to understand the students really well. And equally as important, it helps the students to understand each other as well. So it's not out of the ordinary for students to share that they're dyslexic or they're autistic or they struggle with certain things. And those shared experiences help to understand each other much more.
I love crew. Like it's one of the best times of the day. Like if you come to school in a bad mood, then telling your crew about it lets that off your chest. And also the crew leaders know how to look out for you throughout the day.
If you haven't done your homework, sort of your crew leader gets emailed about it, and you're sort of expected to talk about why you haven't done it. And sometimes you can do your homework within crew session.
I think it's the community feeling that really it cements the students together, and it means that they hold each other to account, they work harder, they're kinder to each other, and actually I feel I learn better working here. I've learned a lot since I've been here.
We celebrate our kids' difference, of course we do. We want a diverse world, don't we? We want a diverse culture where people are not judged for, you know, where they're from, but for who they are.
When we started teaching remotely, there was nothing remote about it because we were all crew and we all got together. The attendance for our kids during lockdown was unbelievable. It was high 90s, and then when we came back again it was high 90s, and we believe that was down to crew.
The basic crew principles of trust, integrity and compassion are reinforced at the end of every week with a whole school community meeting. It's a space for both staff and students to appreciate each other, to make a stand for change or to apologise.
I would like to apologise for being late.
I'd like to appreciate the teachers who took us out on the hike last week.
I'd like to appreciate everyone for making me feel welcome, especially my crew.
Before, where I did work, not having those appreciations and the students not having that kind of the language to thank their teacher, you felt not appreciated, or you didn't feel. I mean, not feeling appreciated is the same as not being appreciated, isn't it? And I think that's how I felt.
Crew time is also spent playing sports, reading or learning life skills. The school was designed from the start to cater for small groups of students. So how can your average big secondary school shift to this model?
I think it's all about utilising all of the adults in your schools. Teaching assistants have become crew leaders. So we use all of the adults in our school and they're given support to do that. So it's about thinking about how you can carefully use your resources, I suppose, but also how you could organise your school.
We're going to be moving around the room with chemicals.
Crew is not the only ingredient that sets XP apart. Students learn differently. Subjects are mostly taught not separately, but combined into whole-term mixed ability expeditions. They're rigorously mapped against the national curriculum standards to ensure the required content is covered. Every expedition is driven by an overall guiding question that's linked to contemporary issues. The aim is to frame and build the learning so as to make it as interesting, relevant and deep as possible for students.
We start with the big ideas, the things that kids absolutely must remember in 20 years' time. From that big idea, we then start to draw out the curriculum standards. All the big ideas, they move towards answering that guiding question. So in the expedition that we're in at the moment, our guiding question in climate emergency, what have you got to say about it?
As we map the GCSE standards to our expeditions, we ensure coverage. Our kids are prepared for the GCSEs. It is harder work, it is more complex, it is riskier, but it's a risk we're wanting to take for our children. You know, I'd rather kids play tiddlywinks while teachers plan a better curriculum, because in the end it's the quality of what happens in the classroom that affects the quality of a student's education.
With 2 specific learning targets. The key one is the geographical one, so looking at how humans influence and change landscapes and environments. And then the English is written responses using specific form and language.
Staff plan the expeditions extremely carefully. They happen outside crew time in classes of around 25 students. Each term, the overall guiding question will drive one expedition linking humanities subjects and one linking the STEAM subjects of science, technology, engineering, art and maths. Topics can be anything from what Doncaster owes to the miners to whether war solves problems and the health inequalities during the pandemic.
It's certainly different. I think it benefits the students quite well, actually, because it sort of puts it in a real world situation.
We get to see kind of the English side of it and then the science side of it as well. So I think it's a good way to learn.
Yeah, we never really get bored.
And every day it's like something new to learn. Like today we just spent 2 hours doing an experiment, and that's like not boring at all.
There's got to be a purpose behind it, otherwise kind of what's the point? So I would say that's the one thing we don't hear very much. You hear like, why do I need to know this?
2 minutes. 2 minutes 42.
I love it. I love it because every term, every expedition is new for me. It's always fresh for me. I can put new ideas in, can have a go at new products. I get to do things that I've never done before, and I'm going on that journey with these lot, and it's just great.
All expeditions involve students making a product they can show off to their families at the end of each term. Staff have to make it first to ensure it's doable.
Providing the circuit voltage.
This expedition in the Humanities plus Art covers the key national curriculum themes of deforestation, conservation and sustainability. It will end with students covering a wall of the school with their very own eco-themed and school-approved graffiti.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Ta-da!
That's really good. Nice. Hold it higher.
So that's what I've created.
Well done.
The next stage is immersing students in their topic through internet research and mystery images, because at the end of the week they have to guess the guiding question, inspired by the book The Lorax by Dr. Seuss.
Guiding question.
How can we contribute to like saving the trees?
Right. Who speaks for the trees?
We.
Show you this. All right. So this is going to be the driver for the expedition as well.
To bring the project to life, students spend a day at the nature reserve near the school to learn more about forests.
Bats are protected. We don't just protect the trees in this woodland. There's certain animals that are protected as well by the Countryside and Wildlife Act.
In the afternoon, it's time for what XP call a solo.
That one there.
Every student is led to a tree to spend an hour and a half beneath it, alone with their thoughts.
Okay. So the idea behind Solo is to give our students an opportunity to reflect, and we want students to reflect on how they've grown as characters since they first joined us. And we've also asked them as well to write a letter to their future self, to kind of think about how they might grow in the future as well. And then students have also been asked to answer the guiding question, or have thoughts about the guiding question, which is who speaks for the trees?
Video games took over my life, still have. Today I'm just going to come back like I've learnt something about myself, that I could actually survive without electronics.
At first I felt quite anxious about it, but then as we actually got there I felt like I had a connection with it in some way, which I thought was quite weird at first. but I felt kind of refreshed. Like, I've never done something like that before. It's just a way to get your head around things, and it makes you think about everything and reflect on everything that you've done and that you are doing.
We're only 10 minutes from school, but it's just absolutely wonderful, and just to see students grow over one day, you can't put it into words.
Next, it's time for the students to put all their research into a piece of extended writing, a crucial skill for GCSEs. They simplify their notes, and students critique or publicly comment on each other's work.
Jack, what did you think?
I thought it was really good, but wasn't it 50% of all the animals and not one thing?
Well, we had two different opinions, didn't we?
The extended writing will be graded, and the students themselves will be assessed through the school's ethos of working hard, getting smart and being kind.
Our curriculum's built on what we call powerful knowledge, which is about giving our kids the knowledge to change the world about them. And you can see that in our curriculum. Our kids have written books about the miners, the railway, and all their products are out there in the real world. So for me, you know, a curriculum built on powerful knowledge is a curriculum I want for my children.
The final product this term will be a permanent reminder of the expedition. All expeditions end with a presentation of learning to families and the wider community.
Hello and welcome to E25's presentation of learning.
Our beautiful rainforest cities are making way for your ugly concrete jungles.
Students develop their confidence by speaking publicly about what they've learnt, and then their product is unveiled.
I am Lawrence. I speak with the trees.
I thought it was a fantastic presentation. I'm really impressed with the confidence that the kids speak with about subjects like this as well. It's really impressive, yeah. In XP, I've seen his confidence grow.
It's like we've won the lottery.
Yeah,
that's what you think every time you come, don't you? So lucky.
This is a typical turnout. You know, we get very close to 100%, often 100%. So it's all part of it. We bring the community into school.
It's amazing. I wish I were when I was younger. I've never seen anything like it.
The asylum seekers get £37 a week from the government to spend.
The next expedition is about immigration. It ends with a film made by the students and screened in the main arts venue in this leave-voting town. Pupils got to know local migrants and fundraised to buy them bikes because they found out that many of them couldn't afford public transport.
But as the expedition comes to a close, what happens now? Of course, we'll keep in touch with our new friends, but most importantly, we'll carry their stories and experiences with us for the rest of our lives. Because migrants are people just like us, with families and hopes, with stories that deserve to be told.
Well, I found it very emotional.
At first I thought they were, like most of them was illegal and they shouldn't be here, but now I understand that there's different types of migrants such as asylum seekers and refugees.
I didn't really know much about them, so it's opened my eyes as well.
We actually interact with our community and we help them as well as they give back to us, like this documentary. We get to work outside of school, not just sat in a classroom and writing and doing that.
I wish everybody could have the same experience as our children, I really, really do.
When he's talking to other characters, he never uses Othello's name, does he? He always calls him the Moor. So this kind of dehumanising him.
XP's two fundamental concepts, crew and expeditions, work together to create a school that's as caring as it's stimulating. But what about exam success? Results show year on year that students make better progress in their GCSEs than the national average. In conventional exam conditions in 2019, 86% of students gained English language GCSE, compared with a national average of 70%.
I want to see real quality notes, okay?
If you just focus on passing exams, you know, it fails a lot of kids. They get bored, they don't have a purpose, why they don't see why they're going to just get a qualification. But if you focus on creating beautiful work and you focus on building character such as courage and respect and craftsmanship and quality, all that helps academic progress. It's intrinsically linked. As adults, we are judged on who we are and the quality of work that we produce. That's what gets you the job. Qualifications get you through the door.
Staff have developed key moments when students strengthen their learning. Every week they have an academic crew where they discuss their individual performance based on data for working hard, getting smart and being kind, what the school calls its habits of work and learning, or HOWLs.
Why do you think your average howl falls below a 3?
I think it's because I need to improve on my social skills, talking to others and learning to ask that I need help more often.
In the crew session that we had just then, there was a lot of, I noticed that student isn't putting their hand up so much in session. And so as a crew, we then decide, right, well, we need to monitor them and make sure that they are doing that. And so in other crew sessions, so next week, we will have almost like a reporting back, well, is Ruben putting his hand up more in Spanish? Or is Maddie trying harder in science? Or is Lydia doing the best that she can in PE? And I think that holding to account is really important.
The school thinks it's hit on something else. The kinder its students are to each other, the better they do.
There is a clear link between students being kind of kind and their academic and how well they do in their work. And the correlation is they are more mindful of each other and they are more focused on how to be the best person they can be, both kind of kind and academically.
Mum and Dad sit either side, then you'll be able to show your work.
Okay.
Twice a year, instead of a traditional parents' evening, pupils themselves conduct a student-led conference.
Good evening and welcome to my first student-led conference. The piece of work that I found most challenging was the word war letter we wrote. I asked the people on my table. You can see that I have used this strategy in my work if you look at the bit here where I have asked for help with spellings and punctuation. You've done good though.
Well, we were really behind him. Wouldn't really speak in front of people, wouldn't
shy, really unconfident. His confidence come out of the roof.
Yeah.
A lot. He's improved even in his work and his self. So proud of him.
I love it.
Everything builds towards Year 9 and the Passage presentation, a showcase of students' best work since joining XP. As proof, they're now ready to begin GCSEs the following year. They practice among themselves beforehand.
So the next and final data drop in Year 8 was really good and you could tell why I'd improved.
Like in terms of your presentation on the board, I think it was really good.
At the start you were looking at his computer a bit, but after a while it started to get more fluid.
Thank you guys.
It's pass or fail, though you can retake it until you get through. In The Real Thing, students explain to a panel made up of their crew leader, a member of staff, a community representative and their family why they're now mature enough to embark on their GCSEs.
Ali, we're really looking forward to this.
Should be.
I admit I'm incredibly nervous to begin this journey. But I need to put more faith in myself first. If I believe in myself instead of putting myself down, thinking I'm terrible, when in reality I'm actually decent at stuff.
Don't ever think that you can't be who you are, because you are a wonderful young lady. I'm absolutely delighted to say you've totally smashed that. You have passed your passage presentation. Thank you. Come around.
I think crew has helped a lot because, as it was said in my passage, I didn't actually talk for the first few months, so I had to push myself out of said comfort zone and speak.
Absolutely blown away. So proud of her, aren't we? Never seen anything like it on a 13-year-old girl.
Yeah, she's a completely different kid to what she was.
It is really emotional, and especially because I have been with Alice since day one. So, you know, I've been a crew leader since year 7. I'll be crew leader for her until she leaves, and it just helps us to form those really special bonds. So in a way, her journey is my journey as well.
It's just powerful work, that. It's why we're so in love with the work we do. It's really tough. It's really hard work, but when you're working with students who, all kids have got their own stories, it's just wonderful.
Like any school, students have issues, and staff find a space to allow them to reflect on their behaviour and then return to class.
We do have students who display difficult behaviours. Of course we do, but it's how you deal with them that is the most important thing. You know, you can kick them out, make them feel worthless, and then that has a wider impact on society and on our own community. Or you can try and work with that student to look at the cause of that difficult behaviour.
I came in through halfway year 9. My old school was terrible. Our form teachers didn't really care if he was in a bad mood, they kind of just ignored it. They don't try help the kids, they just want to get them away. And I think this school's a lot better. They don't give up on that child, they like to work with the child, what's the problem with them and why they're so upset or why they're so angry, has something gone on at home. I felt like really lucky to be kind of saved from my other school.
I struggle a lot with my learning and in what I did in primary, and I feel like when I've come here I've learned a lot more and it's been like really exciting to learn.
It's been really good, like I've had so much like amazing opportunities to like just like going on field work and like having such an amazing school with like people all around you who cares about you.
It's fantastic. It's better than any of the other schools I've been to.
The sheer strength of the relationships between students and with staff comes into its own in Year 11 as they prepare for GCSEs and their final expedition. The guiding question:
how can I get the best grades that I possibly can at GCSE? And then we become much more granular and we focus on, you know, how to answer exam questions, etc., etc. So we teach GCSE through expeditions.
Someone actually said that, oh, it's great to see that XP isn't another exam factory. And I said, well, no, you've got it wrong. It's the best exam factory in the world. And it's because our kids see exams as a consequence of their work rather than the purpose. In the pandemic, when we've not had exams for the kids to sit, we've just carried on doing the same thing. We collate evidence of progress all the time throughout our expeditions for the purpose of presenting it to parents, to people in the wider community, because we make all our work public. So collating evidence for examinations that don't take place, for instance, has been really easy for us.
Each of us has got our own strengths, so it's like we use our strength to know other people and they use their strengths.
No matter the differences and how great the differences are, you're always together as like just one giant family.
We want everyone to be successful and to do what they want to do, and as crew we find that it's our responsibility to help others.
The crew helped unbelievably with our GCSE success, without doubt. If we get crew right, we get everything right.
Try and do that in chronological
There's one
order.
other ingredient in XP's success: its size, super small. The school believes that staying small actually saves money. But how can your standard large secondary school possibly scale down?
If you've got a big school, it's not that hard to break it down into schools within schools. That's our leadership model, is schools within schools. You start with your crew leader with 12 or 13 kids, then you have your phase leader of 8 crew leaders, and then you have your head of school. And you can always have as many heads of school in your larger school as you need. It's similar to the house system, but there's much more ownership of it. That's why we call it schools within schools. I've been told by a number of people that this approach costs too much. It takes too much time for people to do. There's not teachers that can do this. I've been told lots of things, but my answer is come and see it for yourself. we've done it. It costs less. The teachers love coming here, so we've not spent 1 pence on cover teachers in 5 years. We don't have departmental budgets because everybody works together collaboratively. So there's lots and lots of myths in education, but come here and see it for yourself.
XP is attracting plenty of attention already. Visitors come from all over the world to the school's annual conference, Expose, supported by the education charity the Edge Foundation. There are study visits all year round, plus all XP's curriculum resources are free online.
Expose is about us laying ourselves open and saying, here we are, this is what we do, warts and all.
It's not about a jigsaw puzzle where you can just take a pastoral system out and put a different pastoral system in. It's all connected.
The school is offering an alternative to an at times polarised debate, which sees education as being about either knowledge or skills, but not both. In the same way, a traditional no excuses culture is often set against a more progressive position, where students' experiences outside school are taken into account in their learning.
Education is more complex than that, isn't it? So what we've tried to do is we've tried to personalise it and treat our kids as human beings. XP School and XP East are in Doncaster. They're a brilliant place, but it has challenges. And I'm from Doncaster, and I live in Doncaster. And our students want to make Doncaster a better place. So we need to create systems within our schools that allow that to happen, rather than booting kids out.
XP is now so popular, families have to enter a lottery to get in. It's not only built a second school right next door, but it's taken on 5 primaries and has opened another secondary in Gateshead in the northeast. So how can other schools and communities begin to embrace its ideas?
I'm a great believer of building on success. So my advice would be to start doing one expedition, do that and do that really, really well, and then build on that success. So I'd start small and then build up.
If this is the model of education that you want for your kids, I think you've got to demand it, actually. Say, well, I want that. I want what they're doing, and I want that in my local area. And lobbying, whoever it is, they need to lobby politicians or governments or local authorities or whatever it may be. So if parents want this, then they've got to demand it.
It's like something that'd change your life forever.